In this episode of the Deadly Dozen podcast, we're joined by Mark from Bodyburn Fitness in Hale Zone, which is in the West Midlands. You say essentially Birmingham. So Mark was actually one of our first affiliate gyms, been, really supportive of the Deadly Dozen from the early days, which has been fantastic. I'm always really impressed with the early adopters that take things on from the start. I was asked to be an affiliate gym in the really early days of Hyrox, and I was like, nah, what's this thing? But obviously, when I started Deadly Dozen, it was the likes of Mark that jumped straight on board, really believed in it, and it was a massive compliment, to be fair, just how much people believed in the brand. So to start, Mark, thanks for coming, and just introduce yourself, a little bit about your background, where you come from, and what you do.
I'm Mark Lammers. It's Bodyburn Fitness. We are based just on the outskirts of Birmingham. I've been doing this for 14 years now, and we've sort of developed into a hybrid training centre. But we've developed from a general fitness centre into this hybrid space over the last couple of years, really. Affiliated to Hyrox 2.5 years ago now. And then we started affiliating with yourself and more recently Deka. So we've got the sort of three main affiliates. We've got another couple as well, Battle Cancer and Hybrid NW, although we haven't done any hybrid races with NW yet. So that's where all of our sort of training is based around the hybrid space now.
So was it Hyrox that transitioned you into the hybrid space, and essentially that was the sort of opening up into, right, actually we're going to transition from a more general fitness gym into a hybrid gym off the back of Hyrox?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'd seen Hyrox was starting to get popular. It looked like good fun. So we did a race initially. We did I think we had 3 teams doing a relay race for the first one back in 2003, I think. And then everybody sort of loved it, and everybody wanted to do this sort of hybrid training. So we started doing a lot more of that, and then as we started affiliating with yourself, then we decided to. I think the space is growing so popularly and so fast. To me, it was a clear indication that's where we need to be to keep building our brand. So, yeah, we went all in on hybrid, and our members absolutely love it. Not everybody races, but most people do the hybrid style training. We do a strength and conditioning program as well. We do a HIIT program, but we try and merge all 3 together to give us the best sort of overall program for hybrid and fitness racing.
But that's essentially where with hybrid fitness, it's almost like a misnomer that fitness is everything. It's running, it's cardiovascular endurance, it's muscular endurance, it's muscular strength. And all that hybrid does, or fitness introduced, was brought everyone back to, don't just do resistance training, don't just do the ergs, don't just do one sort of vertical within fitness, do them all. Yeah. And I think that's why hybrid has become so popular, because all it's doing is making training more well-rounded. So I think that's one of the main keys, that you don't actually have to race, it just encourages you to do more. So in your gym then, would you say that the different fitness races are the key? So one of your sort of strategies to grow in your gym is affiliating with the different brands. Is that very much the backbone of what you're doing?
Yeah, I think if we're marketing ourselves and positioning ourselves as a specialist hybrid facility, I think it's important that we are linking ourselves and affiliating with the top brands. There's another one that we're very close to signing up with. We've just got to go through 1 or 2 other things. But yeah, I think our members love it so much, the different styles of racing and stuff like that I think it's just important to become full in on each of these different brands.
Doing it properly, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how do you think CrossFit sits in that?
So I come from a CrossFit background. I come from a rugby and a judo background as a youth, but more recently, over the last 15 years, more CrossFit. But we don't do CrossFit essentially where we are at Hale Zone. I think CrossFit's on a bit of a downward surge at the moment with so many different issues that they're having internationally. But I think it'll always be around. Yeah. As I say, we don't actually do CrossFit, but I think strength and conditioning or CrossFit is only a modality of strength and conditioning. Yeah. We still do power snatches, power clean and jerks, stuff like that within our programs. Yeah. I think it's the high volume, although Deadly's got high volume, the weights are accessible. I think CrossFit has become quite elitist in a lot of ways.
Yeah, well, we like say I always just seen CrossFit as coming under the fitness racing umbrella. And CrossFit, when we first started, a lot of the CrossFitters were saying, and we get a lot of CrossFitters, a lot of the CrossFit gyms are some of the best athletes that we see. You know?
Yeah.
But we they seen it as, well, deadly dozen's just a WOD within CrossFit, because CrossFit can be constantly varied. However, we know that there's certain pillars within CrossFit that they don't have to include them pillars, but such as barbell Olympic weightlifting, such as gymnastic type movements with the rings or the muscle ups and stuff like that, which are not necessarily as accessible. And what fitness racing moved away to be a different vertical. And when I say fitness racing, we're talking about, Deka, Deadly Dozen, Hyrox, even, these other hybrid races and stuff like that, is that it was all based around low technicality and also not having big strength barriers to entry. So it was more based upon a lot more muscular endurance, aerobic power and aerobic capacity. So essentially not how technical you are, but how fit you can be. And that is essentially what's merging into this sort of field of fitness racing, which is the key. So when it comes to your overarching training ethos then at your gym, what's the sort of the ethos to it all? What approach do you take? How does any given week look in training, whether it be your own training, or how, if you take a hybrid athlete, whether it's a Deadly Dozen athlete, and I understand there's nuances between the different lengths of the races and stuff like that. You might do a lot more aerobic work for a Hyrox compared to a Deka Strong, obviously. But how does your sort of training ethos look?
So we periodise everything throughout the year, based originally around a Hyrox sort of season, but I'm aware now that the seasons are sort of all merging together and there doesn't really become much of an off season as such. So we periodise throughout the year based on certain races that I know that our members are going to want to do. A sort of strength program that we use, we very much use a conjugate system, which is
like West Side Barbell.
West Side Barbell, Louis Simmons. So that's we've sort of merged that as for hybrid training. We make sure we include a decent amount of running there. We've got a run club within the gym, and then we have our 3 different sort of hybrid days, if you like. So we have a Hyrox day, a Deadly day, and a Deka day that change over a 3-week period. So we're training more specifically for each of those races. I know there's a lot of crossover between the 3 anyway, in terms of exercises and stuff like that. But that's okay, because some people come to me and say, I want to do Hyrox training and I want to come next Thursday. Well, next Thursday might be Deka or it might be Deadly. And I'll say to them, we're not actually doing Hyrox that day, but it's going to cross over to your next Hyrox race. And people just buy into that.
We've seen people calling it D-Rox or DD-Rox and all sorts, because if you set up a Hyrox circuit, the perfect things to add in between, if you've got the sleds and the ergs, then it's like a dumbbell snatch or a goblet squat. So actually, if you add a 20-station circuit, you've got 8 of the Hyrox stations and 12 of the Deadly Dozen stations. You pretty much just got a full circuit with ergs and whatnot in it. So going back to the conjugate method, which is Louis Simmons, and now that strength training program, originally it was 4 max effort days a week, and then he realised, and for max effort is essentially above 90% your 1 rep max, but it can be, realistically, we're talking just heavy weights, above 80% really. But proper strength professionals will take it up to about 90% and above. So he used to do 4 max effort days, but he realised the athletes couldn't keep up, and he started to do dynamic effort days, which was basically speed strength and strength speed. So lifting lighter weights but fast, but you're still getting that motor unit recruitment. And obviously he would use a lot of bands and chains, which is accommodating resistance. So as it comes up, it gets heavier. And obviously with bands as eccentric overload, it's pulling you down as well. Requires a lot more recovery. So is that the approach you take, where you actually have like barbell strength training, and in Westside Barbell's method, they also had like a specialist day training weaknesses. Is that the approach you take? Bands, chains, max effort days, dynamic effort days?
Yeah, so slightly different to accommodate the sort of hybrid space on that. So we will do a max effort upper body with a dynamic effort lower body.
Nice, very cool.
And then we'll do vice versa, so a max effort lower body with dynamic effort upper body.
Yeah.
And we'll do 2 of those. So we'll train over 4 days doing 2. So it'll be max upper one day, it'll be max lower the next day, upper, then lower.
Yeah.
Normally Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Wow, that's a great system.
And within that, we've also got the the accessory work. So we would put maybe some plyometrics in there, some broad jumps and stuff like that, banded broad jumps. We use a lot of bands. We do use chains, but not so often.
Yeah.
And when we started doing this about 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago, we started using this system. We found a lot of our members were, like, even from week one, suddenly getting DOMs from strength training when they've strength trained for X amount of years and hadn't had DOMs for years, and then suddenly, why am I feeling like this? It's like, okay, well, we're hitting a lot of muscles that you're not hitting on your bro sets, on your normal splits. And the results we've had have been insane in terms of race results and PBs. Yeah. It's transferring over really, really well.
It's a lot of eccentric overload from the bands. So the eccentric phase, which has the muscles lengthening, causes a lot of soreness. That's what causes trauma in the muscles. So the bands are physically pulling you into the eccentric phase. But you're also getting a more reactive strength, which is a faster transition from the downward phase to the upwards. Yeah. And obviously, if you're adding in like plyometrics, which is Louis was big on. So Louis was they called him the mad monk of strength training. He was big on like the shot method. He read a lot of the Russian literature after he broke his back. He broke his back several times. But he was big on like Verkhansky and Zatsiorski. He read all the shot training, plyometrics. So with you adding in, plyos and eccentric overload with the accommodating resistance, people are essentially, they're going to get stronger fast because we talked about this on the last project, you get strong from lifting heavy weights, but you also get really strong and powerful by lifting weights fast. Mm-hmm. And that's what Louis worked basically. He had these really heavy days and then these days where he wanted to get that same stimulus on the muscle, and the way he did it was like, well, let's lift lighter weights, but let's do it really fast, and then let's add bands and chains. And you can see how that adds that, because the backbone of all training is progressive overload. And Louis just found what he did was he had some of the best athletes in the world of invitation-only gym, and it was all about, well, how do I keep getting this overload on these individuals? And obviously you bringing that into fitness races. So in your program, you've got essentially conjugate, which strength training. You've got your sort of hybrid specific training, Deka, Deadly, Hyrox, and obviously maybe a few others that you add in. Obviously, a lot of them use the stations that are within then. And then you said you've got a running club, and how does that look?
So the running club go out on a Wednesday morning, a Friday evening, and occasionally on a Sunday as well. The Sundays, through this on-season, off-season that we sort of spoke about briefly earlier, a sort of off-season, I look at that as being like June, July and August, or May, June, July. So we don't open on a Sunday through those days. Through the rest of the year, we're actually open on a Sunday. Mm-hmm. We do just one session for competitors only. So anybody who's booked into any sort of race in the next 3 or 4 months can come along to those specific days, where we'll up the tempo and we'll go full send on those. When we're not doing those, the guys that want to are going out and doing their runs on the Sunday. Or because we've only got a certain amount of people can get into each class, like 16 or 20 people, if they don't get booked into a class, then they'll run if it's their run day. And
do they all tend to be zone 2, or do you have tempo days, track days, hill days? Do you program the running like that?
Yeah, so we've got three paces, if you like. So we've got the faster pace, what our guys call sexy pace, which is for the slower runners, and then you've got a mid pace, sexy pace. Yeah, they love that. So yeah, a lot of it is zone 2.
That's my pace.
A lot of it is zone 2, but yes, they where we live is quite hilly anyway, and we actually live on Mucklow Hill. Our facility is on Mucklow Hill, and that's quite steep. So they use that. We've got several tracks close by. In fact, this Friday, they're actually at Alexandra Stadium doing a track evening, Friday evening. Yeah. So yeah, we use a mix of all of those.
Yeah, and you'll be actually, speaking of Alexandra Stadium, we're there 23rd of August for our track race, sold out, which everyone's very excited for because it's, it was a Commonwealth Stadium, and you'll be judging there. So are you looking forward to that, judging on the day? You're quite a harsh judge?
I think I'm a fair judge, but I should be fair but firm.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
I think that's the way it should be. I don't want to no-rep anybody just for the sake of it, but I'm not going to let people get away with sloppiness either. Yeah. and I'll always give them 1 or 2 warnings before I no rep them anyway.
Yeah.
I've done judging before within our facility when we've run in-house competitions, and I'm looking forward to it. It'll be good fun.
Yeah, it'll be good to have you on board. And before the podcast, we talked about how, we can start even developing that and getting you as part of the red shirts and getting you on the team. And, we're wanting to expand. Obviously, we've got 24 races next year, but we're wanting to expand to 50, 100 races in the UK and all over the world. So, having guys like you involved as affiliate gyms and also being part of the team on the day, whether it just be an individual judge, a head judge, and eventually being there to help the support crew, the race staff, that's what we're looking for to get that expansion. So, yeah, really appreciate that. And obviously, the information that you've got there, what's really interesting is looking at how the different gyms, we had Miles on yesterday, didn't we, that was talking about his own training. He's has age group world records in Hyrox, yourself running this gym, different approach to the way in which you target the training, but it all works in different ways. So it's fascinating that you're using the conjugate method. So the way that we finish the podcast is with 3, 2, 1, go. And it's 3 words or phrases that define your ethos, 2 habits you swear by, and 1 final piece of advice for the listener. So we'll start with 3 words or phrases that define your ethos.
So I would say intention. So I'd say intensity, or intention, sorry, community and enthusiasm.
Yeah, that sort of defines you as a coach and what you want in the gym.
Yeah, I think so. I try and always be enthusiastic and have that nice feel in the gym so everybody feels inclusive and welcome. We've built a great community, which I guess is based around that. And intention, I try and get everybody to train with intent. I think training with intent is really key. And it's something that I've struggled with a few times in the past, getting people to train at that with that intent. Yeah. But they're buying into it and they're all on board now, and it's making a difference. It does.
Yeah, and that's probably come a little bit from your conjugate and so the Russian sports science where they're talking about intent, what they call like compensatory acceleration, which is when you're coming through the concentric phase, is not just going through the motions. Obviously there's mechanically it's harder at the bottom and it starts to get easier as the joint angles increase. So it's making that conscious effort to finish every rep explosively, which you might have got from like Verkhansky and people like that, and Mel Sif and all these greats of the sort of strength and conditioning. But applying that same sort of methodology to what you do. So it's when you're doing a push press or when you're running, it's having a level of intent, which is key. So 2 habits you swear by? Can be anything. It doesn't have to be fitness.
Can be anything. 80-20 principle.
Yeah. Comes up a lot, doesn't it, on the podcast?
So 80-20 principle. And
to all things in life? Not all things, but like...
Yeah, most things. I think you need to have a good balance, and I think 80-20 gives you a decent balance.
Gives you consistency.
It does, yeah.
Do most of the stuff really well, and
Yeah, give yourself a little bit of leeway. Don't beat yourself up. Don't be too hard on yourself. If you're going out and want a burger or whatever, or a couple of beers, don't beat yourself up about it. Enjoy it, and then get back on track. Yeah. With whatever, whether that's training, nutrition, whether that's spending time at work or at home, and stuff like that. It's got to be a balance. So I think that's really important. Habits. Although I'm quite guilty of this, and I try and do it a lot, and I try and really instill it in everybody, is water, drinking enough water. Yeah. I think that's really, really key to a lot, and staying hydrated. But I do say I am guilty of most of the time not drinking enough myself. Yeah. So it's something that I really try and focus on.
It used to be the problem with me, and that would be one of the habits I would probably say. So 1 final piece of advice for the listener.
Okay, so my final piece of advice is take every opportunity and live life to the fullest, because you never know if tomorrow's going to actually happen.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, like I say, thanks for coming on, Mark. That's brilliant advice. And it goes to say, you say, take every opportunity. You're one of the first people to reach out to me with the Deadly Dozen and was like, look, I think this is great. I want to be a part of it. How can I be a part of it? And, I can't appreciate that enough. I really do.
I'm all in on Deadly. I think it's a great concept. I totally buy into your vision for the future. And I think it's exciting, man.
I appreciate that. Cheers, Mark.
Thank you.
Fantastic.